All right, so get ready. We're diving into a world full of delicious smells and sounds. You know, fresh basil, garlic sizzling in olive oil, that kind of energy you feel in a busy dining room. Today, we're doing a deep dive into Italian restaurants.
And I think you might be surprised by how much more there is to this world than just, well, delicious food.
Oh, for sure. We're not just talking about your average, pizza place. We've got a ton of sources here. We're going to be looking at all kinds of Italian restaurants, regional cuisines, the works, and what it takes to really make it as a waiter or even a receptionist. I mean, who knows? By the end of this, you might be ready to, trade in your job and start serving up some dolce vita.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe. But why don't we start by just setting the scene a little? Imagine you walk into a real classic Italian trattoria. That kind of place. Families have been going for years, big platters of pasta on the table, everyone talking and laughing. That's just one kind of Italian restaurant.
Yeah.
And if you want to work in this world, you really got to understand those differences.
Okay, so we've got the trattoria, right? Casual family style. Then you have the pizzeria, obviously. Pizza's the main event there. And then, if you want something fancier, more for a special occasion, there's the ristorante. But here's the thing. Italian food, it's so much more than just, pizza and pasta. Every region in Italy has its own way of cooking, its own specialties. And a good waiter, they know that stuff. It really makes a difference.
Yeah, totally. Take Sicily, for instance. It's an island, right? So naturally, seafood plays a big role. You'll find things like, swordfish with olives and capers, or pasta with fresh sea urchin. It's completely different worlds from, say, Tuscany. They're known for hearty dishes, lots of meat, like Florentine steak or wild boar ragu.
Wow, okay, now I'm getting hungry. It's really cool how a waiter who knows about all those regional differences can really, add to the experience for the customer. But speaking of waiters, what about the skills they need? It's a fast-paced job, right? What does it take to succeed? I know our sources mention communication, teamwork, customer service, multitasking, paying attention to detail. It's a long list.
Yeah, for sure. But it's more than just having those skills on your resume. A really good waiter, they can use those skills to turn even a negative experience into a positive one. I remember this one time there was this waiter dealing with a customer who was, pretty upset about having to wait so long. The waiter, he stayed calm, apologized, and even got the kitchen to hurry up the order a bit. The customer left feeling like they were heard, all thanks to the waiter.
That's what makes someone great at their job. It's not just taking orders. It's almost like anticipating what people need before they even ask, making a connection. And seriously, how do they keep track of all those orders, coordinate with the kitchen, remember everything? All with a smile on their face. I wouldn't be able to do it.
It's a balancing act, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's also about knowing the menu inside and out. Knowing the ingredients, how things are prepared, what each dish tastes like. That way you can answer questions and give good recommendations.
Right. And then there's wine. If you can suggest the perfect pairing for a dish that really impresses people. I know our sources mentioned some basics, but I'm curious, what's the thinking behind these pairings? How do you make those perfect matches?
Well, it's about finding that balance between the flavors of the food and the wine. For example, let's say someone orders ossobuco. That's a rich dish, full of flavor. You wouldn't want to pair that with a white wine, right? You'd need something with more body, more complexity, something like a Barolo or a Barbaresco. That way, it complements the meat and the sauce.
I see. It all makes sense. It's like a symphony of flavors, everything working together. And speaking of working together, let's shift gears a bit and talk about the receptionist. They're often the first person a guest interacts with, right? So they set the tone for the whole experience.
Oh, it's much more than just answering the phone or taking reservations. A good receptionist, they're like a conductor, orchestrating the flow of service, managing wait times, making sure everyone feels welcome.
It sounds like it takes a lot of patience, especially when the restaurant is packed and there's a long wait list. But I bet when a receptionist handles all that with a smile and really wants to help, it makes all the difference.
Totally. And, while we're talking about creating a good dining experience, we can't forget about health and safety. Our sources really stress how important it is to have a clean, hygienic environment.
Yeah, it's easy to forget about all that behind-the-scenes stuff when you're enjoying your meal. But it's so important for everyone's safety, both the staff and the guests.
Absolutely. I mean, from hand washing to making sure there's no cross-contamination in the kitchen, there are strict rules in place to make sure the food is safe.
I've always wondered how restaurants manage to keep everything so clean, especially when it's so busy. It's like a well-oiled machine back there.
Yeah, it takes a lot of hard work and attention to detail, that's for sure. But it's not just about cleanliness, it's also about safety in general. Preventing slips and falls, using proper lifting techniques, knowing what to do in an emergency.
Right. It's a good reminder that working in a restaurant, it's not just about the food. It's about creating a safe and enjoyable experience for everyone.
Exactly. And that brings us to another important thing: professionalism and etiquette. It goes beyond just appearances. It's about having a certain code of conduct, that elevates the whole dining experience.
So it's more than just saying buongiorno with a charming Italian accent.
Yeah, exactly. It's about presenting yourself professionally in how you look and how you communicate. It's like the invisible glue that holds the whole dining experience together.
Interesting. So what are some examples of that etiquette that, someone who's never worked in a restaurant might not know about?
Well, for one, it's important to understand the hierarchy in a restaurant. The chef is usually seen as the leader, and there's a certain level of respect you need to show. Then there's how you address guests. You should use formal titles like sir and madam until they tell you otherwise. And of course, there are certain ways of serving and clearing dishes, handling silverware, pouring wine.
So there's this whole unspoken language you have to learn to really navigate the restaurant world.
That's a great way to put it. It's about observing, listening, and learning from those who've been doing it for a while.
And speaking of learning, our sources really emphasize the importance of practical experience. It's key to really mastering this kind of work.
So reading about it isn't enough, you have to actually do it? Yeah, exactly. That's where role-playing can be really helpful. Imagine you're practicing taking orders, dealing with a difficult customer, even cleaning up a spilled drink. But it's all in a safe environment, no pressure. It's a good way to build confidence and get those skills sharp before you're dealing with real customers.
Like a dress rehearsal before the big show.
Yeah.
And I bet on-the-job training is important too, learning from the pros.
Oh, absolutely. There's nothing like shadowing an experienced waiter, seeing how they handle everything, how they interact with guests, manage tables, deal with the flow of service. It's like having a mentor show you the ropes.
And let's not forget the feedback you can get directly from customers.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Whether it's a comment card, an online review, or just a conversation, those comments from guests, they can tell you a lot, what you're doing well and what you could do better. It's all part of learning and improving.
So it's a mix of hands-on experience, guidance from experienced staff, and feedback from guests that really helps you develop your skills. Okay, so let's talk about career paths. Let's say you've got the basics down, you're gaining experience. What's next? How can you move up in this field?
Well, one common way is to work your way up within the restaurant itself. Start as a busser, then maybe become a food runner, then a waiter, and eventually maybe a captain or head waiter. Each step comes with more responsibility, more to learn.
So it's a gradual climb, you build your skills as you go. But what about those who, want to do something beyond a single restaurant? What are their options?
There are definitely options for that too. You could think about becoming a restaurant manager, running the whole place. Or maybe you're more interested in the food itself and want to be a chef. Some waiters even open their own restaurants. It's all about bringing your own vision to life.
So many paths to take. But no matter what, having a good resume and cover letter is key, right?
Oh, absolutely. Those are your first impression. You want to really showcase your skills and experience in the best possible light.
Earlier, you mentioned that some people just list their job duties on their resume, which isn't great. What other mistakes do people make? What should you avoid?
One big one is not tailoring your resume for the specific job you want. You really need to take the time to read that job description and highlight the skills and experiences that match what they're looking for. And, don't be afraid to show a little personality. Restaurants are all about creating a welcoming atmosphere, so let that enthusiasm shine through in your application.
So it's a balance between professionalism and personality. What about the cover letter? Any advice for making that stand out?
The cover letter, that's where you get to tell your story. Explain why you're drawn to that specific restaurant, what you can bring to the team. Do your research. Mention something you like about their menu, their commitment to, say, sustainability, or maybe their reputation for great service. It shows you're genuinely interested and you're taking the time to learn about them.
It's about going that extra mile, making a connection. Now, we've talked about moving up within a restaurant, branching out, all that. But what about networking? How important is that in this industry?
Networking is huge. Going to industry events, joining professional groups, just striking up conversations with people in the field. It can open so many doors. Word of mouth is gold in this business, and you never know where a simple conversation might lead.
It's all about those connections, those relationships. And for those who are really serious about this as a career, there are certifications and extra training they can do, right?
Definitely. Things like a ServSafe certification. That shows you know how to handle food safely, which is a big deal. And for those who want to be sommeliers, there are special courses and certifications to really boost your wine knowledge. And let's not forget about language skills. The world is getting smaller, so being able to talk to guests in different languages, that's a huge plus.
So in this field, the learning never really stops. There's always something new to discover, something new to master.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so exciting and rewarding. It's a journey. You're always growing, always learning. And actually, speaking of time, I think we've reached the end of part 1 of our deep dives.
Already. Wow, it feels like we've only just scratched the surface. But hey, I'm looking forward to part 2. We'll be back soon to explore even more of this fascinating world of Italian restaurants. See you then.
My hosting a WooCommerce store earns me money all day, every day. I'm Gabrielle Scarlett, and by day, I'm a brand strategist and designer. Then by night, I have a side hustle of making social media template packs and selling them to small business owners on my personal WooCommerce website. Just like my client sites, I built my personal store with Hostinger and WooCommerce because it's easy and customizable, and honestly, it's really fun. I play with my site whenever I have the time, and with managed WooCommerce hosting, I can do everything I need to do. And if I ever need help, I can reach out to the super helpful, super friendly support team at Hostinger, no matter what hour of the day or night it is. Plus, with Hostinger, there's no concerns about my site's availability or security, and no hidden fees either, so I get more from every sale. Get started with your online store now with managed WooCommerce hosting from Hostinger. It's fantastic, and I would recommend it to anyone.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Italian restaurants. You know, I'm still thinking about all those regional dishes we talked about. Sicilian seafood, Tuscan ragu, it's hard to choose.
It really is amazing how much variety there is in Italian cuisine. And remember, a waiter who knows those regional differences, they can really help guide customers, make good recommendations. It's valuable.
Oh yeah, totally. And we were just starting to talk about professionalism and etiquette in these restaurants. It's more than just how you look, right? Right. It's like a set of unwritten rules. They guide how everyone interacts, makes things run smoothly, enjoyable for the guests and the staff. For example, understanding the hierarchy in the restaurant, that's important. The chef, they're usually seen as the heart of the place. You got to show them respect.
Makes sense. You don't want to interrupt the chef when they're in the middle of something important. What about interacting with the customers? Any etiquette tips there?
Oh, for sure. You always address guests formally at first, sir and madam, that kind of thing, until they tell you it's okay to be more casual. And there's a certain way you serve and clear dishes, handle silverware, even pour wine. It all adds to the feeling of the place.
I see how those little details really make a difference. But let's be real, working in a busy restaurant can be stressful. How does etiquette come into play when you're dealing with, difficult customers?
Even when things get tough, you got to stay calm and professional. You're representing the restaurant, right? So how you act, it affects everyone. Instead of getting defensive, try to see things from their point of view. A genuine apology, really wanting to fix the problem, that can usually make things better.
It's about turning a bad situation into a good one. And speaking of good experiences, our sources emphasize how important customer service is. It's not just being polite, it's more than that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about going the extra mile, creating a memorable experience. Think of it like anticipating what someone needs before they even ask. A good waiter might see a guest struggling with a wine bottle and offer to help. Or they might remember a regular customer's favorite dish and suggest it.
Those personal touches are what make people come back. It's about making them feel valued.
Exactly. Building those relationships, that's what separates the great restaurants from the rest. Now, while we're talking about success, let's get into the practical side of learning this job. Our sources say hands-on experience is super important.
Right, you can't learn everything from a book. Sometimes you just gotta jump in.
Exactly. That's where role-playing comes in. You can practice taking orders, handling complaints, even spilling a drink, but it's all in a safe space, no real customers to worry about. It helps you build confidence and get those skills down.
like a practice run before the real thing. And I imagine learning on the job is crucial too, from people who really know what they're doing.
Oh, absolutely. Shadowing an experienced waiter, watching how they handle everything, the guests, the tables, the pace of the service, it's invaluable. It's like having a mentor right there with you.
And don't forget about feedback, getting comments directly from the guests.
Right. Comment cards, online reviews, or even just a conversation. It can tell you so much. What you're doing well, what you could improve, always learning,
So it's that combination of hands-on experience, guidance from seasoned staff, and feedback from guests that helps you really develop your skills. Okay, let's talk about careers. You've learned the basics, you're getting experience. What's next? How do you move up in the restaurant world?
Well, one path is to move up within the restaurant. Start as a busser, then maybe become a food runner, then a waiter, and eventually, a captain or head waiter.
Right.
More responsibility, more learning at each level.
So you work your way up step by step. What about those who want to do something different beyond one restaurant? What options do they have?
There are possibilities for that too.
Yeah.
Restaurant manager, running the whole operation.
Right.
Or maybe you're more drawn to the food, want to be a chef. Some waiters even open their own restaurants.
Yeah.
It's about taking your vision and making it real.
Wow, so many paths to choose from. But regardless, having a strong resume and cover letter is important.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Those are your first impressions. You want them to be good. Show off your skills and experience in a way that stands out.
You mentioned earlier that listing just job duties isn't a good idea. Any other common mistakes people make on their resumes?
Yeah, a lot of people forget to tailor their resume to the specific job they're applying for.
Yeah.
You got to read that description carefully and highlight the skills and experience that fit what they're looking for. And don't be afraid to show some personality. This is the restaurant business. It's about being welcoming, Let your enthusiasm come through.
So a mix of professional and, you. What about the cover letter? Any tips for making it stand out?
The cover letter is your chance to tell your story. Why this restaurant? What can you bring to them? Do your research, mention something specific that you like, maybe something about their menu, their commitment to being sustainable, or their reputation for great service. It shows you're really interested and you've done your homework.
Going the extra mile to connect with them. Okay, we've covered moving up, branching out, all that. Now, what about networking? How important is that in this industry?
Networking is super important. Going to events, joining professional organizations, just talking to people in the field, it can open so many doors. In this business, word of mouth is huge. A simple conversation can lead to amazing opportunities.
It's all about making those connections. And for those who really want this as a career, there are always more certifications and training to pursue, right?
Oh yeah, tons of them.
Yeah.
ServSafe, for example,
Yeah.
shows you know about food safety, which is super important. And sommelier certifications for those who want to specialize in wine.
Mm-hmm.
And don't underestimate language skills. Being able to communicate with guests in different languages, that's a big advantage.
It sounds like the learning never ends in this field. Always something new.
That's what makes it so exciting. It's a constant journey. You're always growing, always discovering.
Welcome back, everyone. It's been quite a journey through the world of Italian restaurants, hasn't it? I feel like I've learned so much. I don't know about you, but I'm already craving some pasta.
Me too.
Yeah.
And what really strikes me is how everything comes together to create that unique Italian dining experience. The ingredients, the atmosphere, the service, it's all connected.
Yeah, absolutely. And the passion, you can't forget that.
Right.
Whether it's the chef or the waiter, that love for what they do really comes through. It makes a difference.
Speaking of passion, one thing that stood out in our research was that the most successful people in this industry, they all share that same passion. It's like the secret ingredient,
It makes you think, doesn't it? What is it about Italian restaurants that inspires that kind of dedication? Is it the food, the traditions, the connections with family? Or maybe it's just the joy of making people happy?
Probably a bit of everything. And it actually brings up a question for you, the listener. What do you think is the most important ingredient for a truly great Italian dining experience?
Is it the service, the food, the attention to detail, the feeling of community, or something else entirely? We'd love to know what you think.
Maybe you have a favorite Italian restaurant that just gets it right, or a special memory that shaped your idea of what a great dining experience is.
Whatever it is, take some time to think about it. What makes an Italian restaurant truly exceptional? And hey, maybe this deep dive has made you want to, explore this world a little more.
Yeah. Maybe you'll discover a hidden gem in your neighborhood. Finally try that dish you